But I'm not late.
The boss one, I'm gonna get mine. Go do the crime if you can't do the time. Don't tell me how you're off and down. When you're smiling in my face, but you play me like a clown, it's your fool bitch. So just step back, or I'm mad that when I come down straight. I thought you were my piece, but you play me out. Now I'm mad as hell, and I'm full of doubt. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty. Let's roll! I'm back on the scene, it's time to get mean. I'm a lean, revolution machine. Won't want people stay, they sweat. For today is good as any day. Y'all feel slightly this, let's resist. Raise your fist and pump like this. Promises all the time. Don't cross the line, but you know it's right. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll.
Trouble time, get something in your rigger. Trouble time, get something in your rigger. Trouble time, get something in your rigger. Trouble time, get something in your rigger.
Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? 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 Who you wanna roll with?
Howdy, y'all.
What's up? What's up?
You know, gas prices, inflation,
All the
cost of
commendables.
weed.
Okay, I'm going to tell you, I found a good deal.
Lay it on us.
Okay, Anja, Highland Park. Green
Oh, Diantha
Lightning.
works there.
Huh?
Diantha works there. One of the patients.
Oh, okay. They have Green Lightning pre-rolls, 1 gram, $4.98.
Nice.
I went there yesterday and I'm like, so how many you got left? She looked, she's like 93. I'm like, oh yeah, no, I don't want that many.
Lefty, what time is our guest getting on? I'm just curious.
Lefty, you're muted.
Is he a
producer?
Is he a 7:30?
His flight lands at 7:30. Yes.
Oh man.
Well, you know, it's probably going to be late the way the lines are. You know.
Yeah, for sure.
Has anybody talked to Sue? How's she doing?
I talked to her about 20 minutes ago.
How's she doing?
She's home.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
as long as she's resting and doing what she's supposed to.
Yeah, so
nurses are terrible patients.
She's probably not. She's probably not going to be on.
No,
Facts.
let her. No, she should just.
Well, I'm just saying, passing
Yeah.
it on, you know. So
Well,
our
you
guest,
know,
I'm just kind of curious because he's been on before, and normally I just like draft Sue, you know, like when she has a guest on, it's sort of like I get to listen and then chime in. But if she's not going to be here, I thought, well, I remember Wolf Siegel being on the show, but so many, especially the really good guests, they overlap in enough ways that I get confused as to, all right, he was on what, 9 months ago? What exactly was he about? So I remember everybody, but I remember the vibe and I remember how it went. And it went very well. He's not your center line person. It never has been, never will. And the older you get, the better odds you are on that.
did you try and look up the video of the last time he was on YouTube?
No.
No, you weren't at pre-show.
No, what I did, I just Google searched him, and AI came up, and I looked at it. But then I realized I didn't know these things about him before. Operation Green Merchant. I knew I'd heard that before. I read ahead. I had Operation Green Merchant, and I'm like, well, green. Oh, wait a minute. Operation Green Merchant was a DEA sting, and it was a DEA sting where they got it right in court where they could summon the address of anywhere the home grow systems, these lights and the high pressure sodium lights, like street, you know, like the kind I got 6 months before it started. So I got it before it started, and I got through. And what they do is they would stop by like 10 weeks later or something, knowing you'd have something growing, but knowing it wouldn't have got cut down yet.
Uh-huh.
And it was a sure thing at that point. But, you know, that really drove up the value of my light because I wanted to sell it because I needed money, and I was moving to where I could grow outdoors anyway. And, you know, I think the guy offered me pretty much what I paid. If I remember, it was $300 and something, which was $89, worth a lot more than it is now. So anyway,
Street light.
but also he wrote a book. Oh no, the Sea of Green cultivation technique. The Sea of Green. I was reading about that, like with, oh wow, one day, yeah, I'm gonna, you know, that was like, and that was his. So it's sort of like he's already influenced me, you know, and the fact that he got Sea of Green is not a good thing in his life. For me, it was good that I missed it, but you know that I believe that got him ensnared in the system. So at least I know which one, and that he was a columnist for Sensimility Tips magazine. I remember when that came out. You know, it had other things besides that. I think, you know, it was sort of like Playboy would have the pictures, but they'd have articles too. So this is sort of like that. It had pictures, but also had articles. And I think, you know, it was like High Times, you know what I mean? They had Freedom Fighter of the Month. It might have been recognition of somebody or something like that, like later on. But I don't know how long that lasted. So anyway, you know, it's I was reading something just before I found out he was coming on. It was about these three guys. I looked at it because it looked like a band hanging out, you know, and it was right away. It was like that's not whoever I thought it was. Anyway, but I started reading. And it was like, oh, listen, you know, thanks to the lady who lent us this and the person a refrigerator till the heating got fixed in this, and then we could get it. It was sort of like, these are like cannabis guys. You could tell by the dress and Cervantes, Jorge Cervantes, I think is his name. I didn't look him up, but he's very well known a long time ago on the intellectual end of it all, you know. And so I'm like, oh, and then I look and because when I first read it, I thought, man, I have no money. I'd love to send them $10 or $20, even though, but I don't have any credit. I don't have a way of sending it except for a $10 bill in the mail. I could ask Kathy to write a check for $10 and I send it, but then I don't want to get into the why it's important to me because I can't explain that. I don't fucking have the money. Why would I do that? You know what I mean? So if I couldn't send $10 with a snail mail, I wasn't going to do it. But I got back. I said, I wanted to comment. I said, well, hey, listen, here's the thing. A man of means by no means, and I would really like to. I don't have any money, but if I could, I could send you $10, but I don't have a way of doing it other than sending a $10 bill. So if you have a mailing address, I could mail it to. You know, I'd like to do that. And then I go back and I read it again after I post that, and I'm like, you know what? I feel good. It's like it's exactly what I was supposed to do, you know? I didn't overthink it. I just fucking did it. And it was like a little tap on the shoulder and a nod of the head from nature, you know? And I felt really good. So I reread it. And I saw Wolf Siegel. I go, well, shit, I already know him. We've talked. We're on the podcast before. This is going to sound kind of stupid to him probably. Oh, also, it's like I wanted whoever that was when I typed this. I said, oh, I thought, let me put a picture of myself. And right away, first one I got to is more of a group picture, but it was with Jack Harrer and Ed Rosenthal, two people that anybody like that would know. And then me, second from the right, but we'd already met. And I don't know how that shapes out. I mean, I don't know how I would receive that. Like, what is Jim like? You know, what the fuck? But, you know, so anyway, you know, if I have to, I'll cop to it on the podcast and say, yeah, man, you know, it's what happens. It's the nature of the beast, though, you know. And but in looking him up, you know, he really is an OG, big time, you know. I mean, and it's that he hasn't made a lot of money out of it, and he's where he is now. That actually means more to me, you know, that he's the real deal, you know, and he didn't get sidetracked by what it could do for him. So I'm happy.
I think all the people that do the right thing, they're not in it for the money. They're in it to just help all the patients.
Yeah.
Most people in this industry, I have really found, are passionate. They're in it because they've actually experienced what this plant can do for them, or they've witnessed what that plant can do for them. That's why, you know, a lot of these small businesses are struggling because they're not business people, and they're not running the business as a business. It's their passion.
Yeah, you know what? That's a lot like politics, because the politicians that actually think, you know, I could do better, how hard is that? And a lot of it must start with well-meaning intentions.
Of course.
And they get there, but the thing, and I can't remember the exact name, I'm pretty sure it's Arizona or New Mexico, a guy campaigned on that. I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to be that guy. And he was that guy. But the thing is,
the machine gets to you.
Yeah, he didn't get any notable committee assignments. He never got any co-sponsorship on any bills he tried to write. And his opponent pointed out that he didn't have any bills passed in the entire time he was there. And he got voted out. So he got voted out for doing the right thing. Now that tells me something. People start going down that line knowing it, and they compromise. And you have to. It's compromise is how you get to an end result that doesn't suck like where we are nationally right now, you know, and it just gets worse. So what I thought was funny to illustrate that is an article about, okay, there's a lot of people really being disappointed by Trump, and their eyes have been opened. Is there a spot for them on our team? And do we give them shit for it? How much? You know, in other words, yeah, it's time to say, okay, I think that was really fucking stupid. Glad you're going the right way now. I would, I don't know about the open arms welcome and, high fives or nothing, but in effect, what others would call a business relationship, the way you go about that for the common good of where you're going. In this case, it's not financial. So, hey, I think the bomb's sinking in, man. It's really nice to have edible bombs. So, having been on my feet doing some actual work, that they tend to hurt. So I use them as a topical, but then I also take a healthy potluck fingerful.
A nice little dollop.
Yeah. And what happens though?
A little dollop will do you.
There you go.
It soothes the head as well as the pain.
What do you? Is it RSO, FSO?
No. It's just made magical butter, coconut oil as the oil base.
Okay.
And the lecithin, I always feel like Sylvester the suffering succotash of lecithin. I always feel like I'm saying it wrong, like Simonin or something.
Well, I say it like the Flex Seal guy says things. Flex Seal.
Yeah. You want to do it?
Lecithin.
Oh, hold on a second. This is what the mute's for.
Oh, nice.
So I stopped by Blackburn today because I partnered with the Tar Tubes people, and I wanted to go talk to them and see if they had anything new for me to try. They've got this new product called Boof, BOOF. Okay, they have single infused pre-rolls, double infused pre-rolls, and triple infused pre-rolls. They also have drinks.
Just do a dab at that point.
Yeah. And they have drinks like peach iced tea, fruit punch, lemonade, and they also have concentrated syrups.
Nice. I like those syrups. I used to get those in Maine all the time.
Yeah.
Those were great.
What did you add?
Like a little cap full in your drink.
That sounds good.
My issue is I have to, if I'm doing edibles, I have to take so much, to feel them. So, if you give me a 5 milligram drink, is it going to affect me differently than if I eat gummies? It's in my mouth more. And there's some kind of nano something.
Well, it'd be different time schedule. Maybe one might be quicker than the other. But
there's that. Those nano ones are usually like real quick and gone real quick, and then the lecithin that usually balances everything out because it works with your gut and your liver to make your whole body feel it.
Yes, but does it have to be absorbed through the liver, or it's just passing through? Because that's where the problem lies. Like for, people that don't have the gallbladders that cannot metabolize the fat, and the fat has to metabolize the cannabinoids so that the liver can process it.
Well,
that's a whole lot.
Yeah, the only other way would just be smoking it, because then that would pass through the brain-blood barrier.
Right.
Edibles don't really do that because of the fact that they go through the liver, and the only time that you really would feel them is probably like just the actual THCA. You wouldn't feel the actual THC.
Yeah. I mean, I'm down. I'm going to try it. Who knows? Maybe this, new delivery system, absorbs more orally, and
or the other thing you get would be the patch. If they have those, that would work.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting to try.
Yeah. So stay tuned. I'm going to try this stuff. And it's vegan,
or like an alcohol, like a tincture. Then you could put that on the skin or put that in your lip. But if you don't have the liver, enzymes to break it down, then the edibles really aren't going to help you.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you're taking so many.
I haven't tried it yet. Every time I think about trying it, it's too late at night. But they say if you eat a healthy fat before you do the edibles, then you should get a better reaction. And that's either peanut butter, mangoes, and something else. Another fruit.
I don't know. So why am I thinking? That'd be like me opening the hood when the car doesn't start.
Was it a citrus fruit?
Yeah.
That's
what I would guess if I open the hood.
It would be
I'm not sure. I can't remember.
Yeah. Well, when I opened the hood, it was usually it could be a solenoid, starting because I knew how to bypass it. Whatever.
Let's start a solenoid.
Jim, ever jump start a stick shift?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Push me down the hill.
Yeah. Well, actually, when you had one that had to be like that all the time, you'd park on a hill. I mean, you take it out and you'd park on a hill where you could go in reverse, and where it was a reverse hill. So I went to the first Harvest Festival I went to in New York. I had a car that was going to do that, but they had seriously, it's in New York Mountain. There's a hill just off a parking lot where we're at a 45-degree angle. So I got back up on that, and I knew I didn't need anybody to help. I'd get in, put the foot on the brake, pop the clutch on the way down. Thing is, I had mushrooms for the first time in a long time, and I really wanted to be by myself because it was so much fun, not because it was a problem. So I went to my car to just hang out my car, but I was in about the position I'm in now, and it felt like I was standing up in a car, and it was making me laugh. Real quick story. I went back into the bunkhouse, which has a double, bunk beds, and two of them up together. So I guess it, and it would have had a long, 50 of them, so there's nobody in there. That's where I was staying because, when you knew somebody, that's where you were. You didn't have to camp out. So I was there, and then I heard somebody coming in, and because I was I was having some good color experience with stuff. I had quite a bit.
Those are the best.
Yeah. So I put the covers over my head, because I could have gone anywhere. Turns out it was Mike Kessler, one of the guys I was with. Not with, but. And he was working security there, and his girlfriend and another girl, and they came and sat down right an arm's length away for 20 minutes and talked about shit. And I'm already what am I gonna do? I could scare somebody seriously now after a minute or two. They never knew. They walked out. I thought that was just kind of funny.
Oh, they knew. That's why they were
no, they didn't know. But the other girl, the girlfriend of his girlfriend, Mike, was told, "Hey, there's this guy Jim. You might want to hang out with him. His wife died a few months ago, and this is the first time he's ever been out to a festival because of that. And I'm like, well, Mike, because now I had to see her.
What the hell, man?
I had to see her coming and be standoffish, and I don't want to be rude. And it was but then it was something. But it was also I don't know. I hadn't had mushrooms in a really long time, and it wasn't a really overly trippy experience compared to what I've experienced before, where I sincerely didn't know what was going on. It didn't matter. It wasn't a bad trip either.
They weren't that fresh.
Yeah, well, never. LSD would give me. It'd be a challenge for me at times when you're walking down the street and hear an echo. Wolf, there's Wolf Siegel.
Hi, Wolf. Nice to meet you.
Hey, Wolf. What's up, buddy?
Well, I'm here. Hey, how's it going? Hey, Jim.
Hey, what's going on, Wolf? How's it going, man? You know, it's yeah, we're just sitting here waiting, and Sue was not going to be here because she just got out of the hospital.
Oh,
So
I didn't know she had issues.
yeah, it's everything's good.
Okay.
And you know, and if I had to give it the long and short of it, it's doctors and nurses that know as much as Sue sometimes are a little harder as patients, and it, you know, and like knowing actually too much.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, the end result is, well, I'm doing better because they gave me drugs that apparently I needed. And you know, you can, you know, so you know what I mean. But see, that
you're not
I
wrong.
love her.
You're not wrong.
That sets the tone for me because I care. You know, I want to know how she's doing, and I don't want it to be a fine. How are you? You know.
Yeah.
And I don't really need to know any of the actual medical aspects. It's how do you think you're doing is what I want to say. You know, how do you feel that you're doing? And what I like about Sue is she's straight. She's not a bobbing head doll. She's not going to yes you if it'll make you feel better either.
Huh.
And I like that. You know.
Yeah.
So anyway, you know, it was funny. Yeah, I guess I should tell you quick. I was just telling them, you know, when I saw the Facebook post, what I looked at, it was like, looked like a rock and roll band sort of picture. And I wonder, who are these guys, you know? And I looked and I found out, oh, no, they're not. And I read through it, but I didn't see where there were any names mentioned, you know? So I read through and I thought, man, these guys are a lot like me, you know that? And I wish I could help, but I don't have plastic. I haven't had a bank account in 20 years. Everything owned is mine. And anything I can see can't be taken from me.
Yeah.
Oh, that's actually, I got to give Fish credit for that. As a quote. But the point is, something was moving me. I mean, it's like, because I have exceedingly little money also, which is maybe why I felt so attuned to what I was reading, you know, and I could kind of feel it and picture it. And I thought, man, if I was just there, like, I don't jump to say, well, I don't have any money. I can't. No, I can. I always can. It's a triage system, though. You know what I mean? No, that's the benefit, the double-edged sword of self-introspection. When you get answers you don't like, or when something you feel like doing goes against, you know, and as soon as I hit the send button, I felt better, you know, because I just if I had an address, I can send a $10 bill. Yeah. And then I went back and I read it, and I said, oh fuck, it is Wolf. Look at that, because I saw the names. So I was gonna like real quick get back at you and go, oh, hey. But then look how long did it take me to tell you. And if I typed that, I'd still be typing for like an hour, you know. But I just wanted to let you know, because to me, it was like, I don't know. Sometimes I feel a little uneasy with myself and things that are happening. Yeah, try to maintain my own focus. And when something so easy like that sets me right, you know, and then I find out why, it's like, it's one of those cool coincidences. And, you know, I suppose I can say it's nature of the beast that sometimes I get like that. And now that I'm 73, I don't know how much of it is I'm 73 or how much of it is I still smoke. Not as much as I did then, but as regular, you know, so whatever. So what's new? Oh yeah, one more thing. I didn't understand that you wrote with the Sea of Green, you know, and it didn't kick, and that was integral in my life, you know, and I didn't understand the nature of Green Merchant. I bought a high pressure sodium and ballast, light for a little grow system there. And then I found out Operation Green Merchant started 6 months later. In other words, I'd had it for like a year, and I started hearing about it.
Well, what is a sea of green, Jim?
Well, no, well, you know what? I think we have somebody here that could explain that to you, Johnny.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah. Look, we're filling in for Sue. We're doing the best we can.
Got it. The best way to say it is that I kind of have to tell the story for it to be appreciated, because years later I would realize that I had been influenced by a picture that I saw in Lawrence Chernak's The Great Books of Hashish, Volume 1, of Mideastern hash plants being grown.
I have that book. It's great.
That's basically plantlet, where you've got a lot of small plants. Sea of Green's a little more specific, and in view of George Van Patten heartily endorsing an XOBV's calling what's basically a slightly less densely packed version of Sea of Green no veg, and George writing about it as being this big new innovation kind of pisses me off, because in 1985, when his customers at his store in Portland on Foster would come in and talk about the new shop in town, Hydrotech, up on Sandy Boulevard, and talk about Sea of Green, he would poo-poo it. So eventually I went over there and explained in detail to George what Sea of Green is. So, I mean, in detail,
I'd love to have been there.
And, well, it's kind of fun because of the three, it's my ego is very involved in this, but of the three major cannabis writers at that point, we're talking about the mid 80s. Mm-hmm. You've got George, you've got Ed, you've got Mel Frank being fair.
Yeah. Okay.
Jim did a lot. He wrote with Ed. I mean, without Jim, Ed never gets anywhere. Would never have gotten anywhere. And okay, then you had Connell Clark. By the 1980s, you had Robert Connell Clark coming in. You had Steve Murphy coming in. You'd had Don Lang, who actually wrote the book before the three first books, right, on in modern times in English on growing cannabis for what I call social use, adult use, and recreational use. Both terms just, we drink socially. Mm-hmm. Those of us that drink. Why are we not social users of cannabis?
Yeah, we overlap there, and I got a lot of shit from people, and I went so far as to say, listen, if the alcohol industry can start selling spirits, why are we still smoking weed?
Yeah.
I mean, and the answer to that would have been cannabis, but even I was pot was better.
And honestly, I love the word marijuana. I know what that word means. I know where it came from. Yeah. I know that Maria Juana was the nickname that some of the brujas were using for it. I know that when Pancho Villa's campesinos came across the border onto Hearst Cottonwood fields and holdings, that the song they were singing, La Cucaracha, was about the poor little cockroach who was so poor. This was the Mexican peasants who were so poor they could not afford marijuana por fumar. Now, it's a shame that the racists in the United States took this beautiful word, marijuana, and turned it into a racist epithet. Yeah. But the fact is, how did marijuana get legalized? By marijuana advocacy groups advocating for it. It's not the National Organization for the Reform of NORCL or for the reform of cannabis law. I wouldn't want to be a member of NORCL, but I was the third non-attorney life member of the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Law. Yeah. When my mother and stepfather called me in when I was 12 and said, "Look, we know you're going to smoke marijuana sooner or later. We'd rather that you do it with us, so we know what you're getting is right."
Whoa!
So that's at 12. Now that was 13 years after the first time I consumed it, because my first consumption was in utero. My Greenwich Village beatnik parents smoking with their friends, Jack Kerouac, Sally Travers, Peter Yarrow, Sally Gross, some people who would become, if you think about it, that were some of America's intellectual avant-garde, but were also the proto-hippies, and some of it's an overlap. You've got Jack Kerouac on the 1963 trip, I think it was 63, trip west that became the book, On the Road.
Yep.
He and Cassidy and them stop in Texas, and I can never remember if it's Laredo or El Paso, and they're smoking pot with a non-Mexican guy who is growing the pot north of the border for sale back in New York.
Oh.
But Cassidy is our Cassidy. I mean, I love Kerouac and his works, but Cassidy is our pivotal figure there, because Cassidy is the bridge from beatniks to surfers to hippies. Neil Cassidy is that guy. He's Kesey's friend, but he's part of the surfing circle in La Jolla, and those people who were the first people on the West Coast that were really doing serious growing up around Fallbrook in SoCal. And now that's when you've got Don Lang writing his book. It's when you've got the guy who wrote as Mary Jane Superweed writing her book, and it's when you've got Bill Drake writing his 1960 from 67 through 69, Drake being the third of those, but being the best, his book being the best of them. And then with Drake, it jumps up with okay. Kesey brings outdoor growing, outdoor grow your own up into Eugene. The hippies coming up that can't afford Northern California in the late 60s are buying in Southern Oregon, where the land's a little cheaper because the logging industry has fallen apart. So people can't pay the high dollars. You get people growing out around Grants Pass, but before that, you've got them growing up in Eugene, because Kesey, he's down there when Kerouac and them come over, and Kesey's buddy Cassidy says, check this out. And of course, Kesey was already part of the bohemian intellectual avant-garde, right?
Yeah.
Northern Lights books, the people in the village, to a lesser degree, the people out in the canyon, up in Laurel Canyon, and up in the hills just west of downtown LA. So you've got this carryover, and they grow up in Eugene. And now you've got people growing every place from Southern California up to Eugene. But up in the Pacific Northwest, when you get north of Eugene, you start, even Eugene, you have more and more. You've got those 3 weeks of rain in September that rot crop after crop after crop. And someone goes, hey, I read about them people growing under streetlights. Let's try this. That would be Steve Murphy, who opens the Indoor Sun Shop in Seattle and writes first How to Grow Marijuana Indoors Under Lights. And I think that's 73 or 75. And then 2 years later, How to Grow the Finest Marijuana Indoors Under Lights. And that's about growing under high-intensity discharge lights. The earlier one had been about growing under Grow-Lux. And there was another light that Luxor made besides the Grow-Lux called the Color Matcher 75 that to this day remains the finest rooting light for clones that I've ever used. I used to throw away anything that wasn't rooted in 5 days unless it was something amazing. So
I had a high pressure sodium light with a ballast. I mean, a whole, I'm
familiar with them.
yeah. So, but what,
Me too.
So when you say you could grow under a street light, I did,
Yeah.
And also I read, if there's some nitrogen in the air, that would be good. And here's what you can do. You take baking soda and then drip vinegar into it, and it creates nitrogen. So it
CO2.
I don't know, but maybe I'm mixing things up. I do that a lot.
A little.
People that know me have that patience, though. It was, I had to do this, and it was all on my own, and I had to go to like a pet store that had aquarium stuff, so I could get the petcocks necessary and the tubing, and I'm trying to explain what I want, and well, it would help if I know what you need it for. I'm being
My petunias.
yeah. So I thought, maybe I could probably win either way, but just by saying with a straight face, but more like I understand I might be able to grow tomatoes in an indoor environment, and it would help because it would. And I explained what I was doing, and the guy was like my age, and at the time, and that was like 30s, in my 30s, mid 30s, and he started smiling, and he's like, I'm with you, and we never said the word marijuana. Oh, but by the way, what I write and my association with marijuana, it was marijuana up and seriously about at tops 15 years ago. It sounded like, that'll sound like, you're just trying to give it a really medical sounding a name, it's better than marijuana. And it's like, no, I don't even say marijuana. Usually it's pot, but when I wrote about it, didn't want to say pot. I upgraded to marijuana, So when I write back, I don't explain it. I always call it marijuana up until when I started calling it cannabis is when I write as cannabis. Yeah. So sometimes I'm writing something that covers both areas, it overlaps them both. So the story starts out, the story, it could be 3 paragraphs, 2 paragraphs, could be 1. And it's called marijuana, cannabis, And I don't know what else to do,
when I write, I use the word cannabis. When I'm talking, it's weed, it's pot. I'm old school. And it's not going to change. And Wolf, I have to tell you a quick story about what we grew in the 80s. And hi, Marina. We had seeds because, back in those early 80s, every bag of weed you got had stems and seeds. So we took the seeds, we planted them, we put them in like a little fake dog house outside. And then when it got cold, we brought it in, hung it upside down with just a regular grow light from, I think at the time it was like Rickles or something, the olden days, Home Depot. And my God, it was the worst weed ever.
Ever.
It's bad when you say it like that.
Oh my God. I have pictures. They were pretty. But man, God, did they suck.
So, Wolf, what's your relationship with Operation Green Merchant?
I was taken down for the highest plant count of anyone taken in phase 1 of Operation Green Merchant. I was originally indicted for in excess of 12,000 plants. They eventually let me plead down. Eventually, I pled down to 3,999.
Would that keep the top spot still?
Well, I was still taken down for the highest count indicted.
Wow!
But Hydrotech, the company I was the general manager of, and I were number 4 on the DEA's priority list in phase 1.
Wow.
Because most of what was state of the art in terms of growing cannabis was coming from us. We had developed the umbrella style paraboloid reflectors. By then I had written about the Osram Optimark. Basically it was the same gas mix, same salts mix that would later be used in ceramic metal halides. I'd written about the ultra high pressure sodiums, which for a while recently, before they went bankrupt, Hortilux was selling as ceramic high pressure sodiums. But if you looked at a chart, they were the same as what I was writing about as UHPSs, which came from General Electric Corporation of England. We're the ones who brought awareness of the inverse square law into cannabiculture, which is my term. Just like there's horticulture and floriculture, what we do is cannabiculture. We are cultivating cannabis. It's a perfectly natural, good use of English. I'm a word freak, so for me, these things matter.
I like it, but I'm going to have trouble pronouncing it.
Just like floriculture, cannabiculture.
Cannabiculture.
Cannabiculture. I did it.
No, it'll roll right off your tongue from that.
And we are cannabiculturists.
I like that.
Cannabiculturists.
We are cannabiculturists. Yeah.
And you know, every time someone starts talking master grower, I say, well, I've known a couple of them out of the maybe 1,500 professional pot growers that I know. 6 of them might qualify as master growers. I'm an advanced journeyman. So I
like that.
You know, I know where I'm at. I'm not a master. I'm not patient enough to explain every detail to someone who doesn't have any of it and help them get it. I don't have the personal humility to accept that I can probably learn something about growing from every single person I meet, even if it isn't directly about growing. But when I'm patient enough and listen and actually pay attention instead of trying to figure out what the next thing I'm going to say is, instead of hearing what they're saying, it's amazing how much stuff we can pick up.
Hell yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's a huge difference between hearing and listening.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so a part of this is that at 70, I'm older than most of the men in my family ever get to be. So I'm in, you know, it hurts to say it, but I'm in decline. I'm not as sharp mentally as I was. So I've got 2 books that I'm working on, except that now it's going to be 1 book. One was going to be my autobiography. It was going to be called, If You Don't Like My Roller Coaster, Jump. The other one was going to be called How to Grow Wiser, a cultivator's handbook for growing cannabis sustainably. Now, see, I use cannabis when I'm speaking formally and scientifically and technically. I use weed or pot or marijuana or even dope or reefer when it's a more casual thing. But what I ended up realizing is that at 70, I'm pretty healthy. I physically, I'm probably going to be good for another 5 or 6 years, but I've got these books I want to get out. So I decided what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine the autobiography with the grow book. And so it's going to be basically a cannabis-centered version, somewhat slightly more technical than, say, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance was about motorcycles, but similar to that, and with a little more technical information about growing. And it's going to be called How to Grow Wiser, How My Life Went to Pot.
Ooh,
that's good.
That's a really good title.
Yeah, that's powerful.
The subtitle is like,
yeah.
You know, it reminds me when somebody says, his life's gone to pot. The character on Saturday Night Live, Tim Meadows, played the ladies' man, you know, and he was just a misogynist who, in being a misogynist, a woman would challenge him on his talk show. You do nothing but gratify, and he goes, yeah, you said it like it's a bad thing, you know. So like, I feel like saying that when somebody says, if you do that, your life's going to go to pot. Yeah, you say that, and what happens is sometimes I'd be in a situation, say, if not a committee meeting, but somewhere where there's a back and forth, and somebody says something like that, and I desperately want to go, yeah, you said it like it's a bad thing. Could be my own private joke, but I've learned through 2 other private joke instances, you know, where somebody doesn't get your reference, where you got to backtrack, you know, like when a cop tells you to go slow.
Yeah.
When I say why, you know, what's going on, And I had a truck that didn't need to turn around because of a big body of water there. He deemed it. But when I said, what's going on? He said, go slow. And so I was a Taxi fan. I like the show Taxi. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
And Iggy one time was, taking his driver's test. And back in the day, the gang could be there. And he was the stoner, the whatever, And he go, what's a yellow light mean? And they're like, go slow. He goes, go slow. They're like, because they don't want to get caught,
Right.
And he goes, what does? And now they're waiting for it to get to the end. And he gets there and they go slow. What? And I found that funny. So when the cop said, I said, what's going on? And he said, go slow. I went, what's going? And by going, I knew it wasn't going his way. He was like, he's a cop. Like, what the fuck's going on? And I said, okay, listen, you never watched the show Taxi. And this was back when it wasn't that old. It might have just gone on. And he goes, no. I go, do you know anybody that has? Oh, yeah. Man, tell them what just happened. You're going to laugh your ass off. And he looked like ready to, so go slow. But anyway, I learned not to press it at times like that.
Well, that's like if someone tells me my life is going to pot, I say, all right. I can
right. Yeah, there you go. Now we're talking.
Yeah, I did go to pot, lucky me.
Really?
You read my book. Nice.
Well, listen, now I got somebody here that might know about books. I read a book in 1970 when I went to college. I didn't smoke in high school. I graduated in 1970 only because nobody offered. I got good grades. I was like, and everybody figured, he's not going to smoke. And they're dead wrong, Yeah. But when I got to college, it was Children's Garden of Grass. Does that ring a bell to you?
Yeah. I remember the title.
I
want to say that it had like a little drawing of like not pot plants, but little plants that were up the side on the cover on the slip paper.
Something, I believe that's striking an image. For me, I do remember as I started to learn more about it, it wasn't actually very much about here's how you might want to grow some good pot.
Yeah.
It was more about, it was kind of new to a lot of people in 1970. It wasn't on the back shelf anymore. Everybody knew something, but so I couldn't in my mind. I'm like, it sounds like but in effect, I think Children's Garden of Grass meant it's what they're writing is even a child could understand it. Yeah. Where it sounds counterintuitive, like, oh, that's a horrible thing.
There was also, I think it was Terry Southern who had a book of short stories that was called Red Dirt Gauge and Other Stories. And that was the first bit of fiction that I saw that was specifically about pot. It was about, growing down south. Gage was one of the nicknames for pot.
Really?
Yep, like Gage.
Never heard that. I thought I knew them all.
Oh, dude, there's like over 3,500 words for pot.
Yeah, you would know, and that's just not. You're not throwing that out there. I think.
No. I've gone through, and I think I quit counting at like 27, and there was still 4 or 5 more pages left.
We definitely overlap in certain things you say, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a compliment or not. I mean, I don't know.
Well, I have come to accept that I'm not normal. Thank you. And I'm comfortable with not being normal.
What is normal?
Normal means closest to, if you took everything that you measured and you got right in the middle of all of it, of all of those measurements, there's norm.
Yeah. So you'd have to be able to quantify
everything.
Yeah, everything.
But I think everybody's interpretation of normal is different.
Yeah.
It's as individual as
that would be normal.
Yeah.
I'd say it's like if you had a circle drawn and you drew your life as a path. Mine doesn't hit much of the center. I mean, it does on its way from one side to the other, maybe, you know, and it might even wander around a bit, you know. But then it's my better 2/3 now. I met Kathy like 18. I shouldn't hesitate. 18 years ago, you know, you got to hesitate. Yeah. But I remember saying when I turned 60, I'm going to be mature then, but I got till 60. In other words, I'm not going to walk, because I never did. I mean, I just never, ever did. And 60 came and went, not even close. If anything, I think I started drifting the other way, you know? And, but
I get that.
I don't know how Kathy meant it. It wasn't in a congratulations or boy, you did good situation. It was more like, you make everything a game. And that's when I had that, you say that like it's a bad thing. But it keeps my mind active. When I make it a game when I'm working as a carpenter, I mean, my game involved as I'm putting the saw down, which direction am I going and where am I going to need it next? And if I'm going that way, I put it down to save me a couple steps. Not being anal, just because I don't know. I would always say I can make time stand still like that, and sometimes it felt like it, you know. But the normal thing. I know one thing. If I admit to not being normal, the other person always swears they're not either.
No one wants to be the
always. Oh, me neither. You know, wait, I go on the escalator. I don't hold on. Whoa. You know, okay. Well, good for you. You know, I'm talking about, I mean, and even the things that, you know, my, when I lived in Fort Lauderdale in, from 1977 to 1981, late 77 to 81, pretty quick off, I met a guy that I had a van. We became friends, and he imported some bales, you know. So basically, I mean, I got to know him pretty good, and it was just sort of like the weirdness of going into a cow pasture off Alligator Alley. Well, actually, it's a side road off Alligator Alley going across the bottom of Florida, you know, and then you'd have wire cutters to cut through into a cow pasture to go, and the guy knew the pilot would survey the possible landing sites. So that's where it started, you know, and to end up being part of everybody, 3 people, each had 3 strobe lights. When we got to where we were supposed to be and everything went right, okay, it's a go. I had one side, the other guy had another side to drop 3, and somebody else put 3 in a little triangle, that touchdown, you know, and which direction. And then I heard somebody look out, you know, as I was dropping the last one, and there was a plane with the wingspan like this close to the ground. And I thought it was going to crash, and it just went and landed. The guy gets out, and he's taking like tape off where the 8 was actually a 3 and it had tape, you know, changing the numbers, picking branches out of where the landing gear is, you know, because he hit some treetops. But it never occurred to me, what the hell am I doing? You know, 64 gallons of gas and like really quick. Oh man, take him back off. But I think back and see, okay, that's not normal. You know, that's not down middle. No. I mean, so many things could have gone wrong.
It's an alternate to normal, but for some people, I mean, you're like the 4th or 5th person that I know of that has a landing story. Okay. So it depends what circles you hang in. When I went to Jamaica the last time before I got busted, when I went to Jamaica, I hooked up with some people down around the corner of the island from
Yeah.
Negril up in an area called
that was where we dealt too, Jamaica. I'm just saying.
Called Revival, right? Just up around the corner of the island. And while I was there, what happened was I had hooked up with a local band because they came and played. I was at one of those everything included things. And this band came and played one night during talent night, and I blow harmonica, and I like reggae and blues and like that, and we played together, and it hit off really well. And what had started out to be a 10-day vacation turned into like a 3-week vacation, including helping these guys. The plane lands, right, and we're getting ready, we're getting it filled up, but a rock had come up and busted the windshield. Now, you would think that you could get a windshield for a plane to Jamaica, from the States to Jamaica in like a day or two. No. Oh, no. Instead, you unload the plane, haul all these big ass bundles back into the woods, and then you sit and you wait till someone gets a phone call almost 3 weeks later and drives up to Mo Bay to pick up the part.
Wow.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, it was.
I was dealing with like 30-pound type bales, or is that about normal?
Yeah.
And I got something called bailback on the actual the first
I'll
thing.
be right back.
In Marathon in the Keys, the airport is on one side of A1A, and there's a place called Captain Hook's Marina, which is the guy that I worked for. Actually, he got that while the 3 years that I knew him. Anyway. There was a plane that needed to be unloaded at the airport. Now, the airport, it has a runway going parallel to A1A, and on the other side of the runway is longer term parking if you have a plane. In other words, you can keep it there and and come and use it, but it's on the other side. And over there, it's like there's this underbrush. I mean, the really wispy weeds that go up a little ways, to set it. But anyway, the airport has an access road going off A1A, behind it, and around. So the hopping the fence would be done in the back, and we'd get off and hop the fence, and then we'd go up and bring the bales back into the wooded area, but that still meant maybe like 15, 20 feet of the wispy stuff to the airplane where it was. And it still makes me laugh because you'd go over and go and the steps would come down and a bale would roll out like an egg, It's like it was hatching bales. But I'd carry it under the wing, and you don't feel it the next day. And it's never been the same since. I never got rid of my bailback. But then it's sort of like we didn't have we had VHF radio, and it had quarter channels, so didn't think that they had better stuff than the people that would want to intervene in the conversation, and lookouts at both sides, so we would know when there was traffic. But they were sitting at the marina having some drinks. So now the pickup crew in the van had been drinking, and it's like 2 a.m.
Not good.
I wasn't happy at all. It was like we got to get them over, and we didn't have to clear, But I was throwing some bales over, hopping over the fence and getting them in quicker, Yeah. But the real scary thing was just before that, to okay it, Spanky, the pilot, drove out to talk to us because I don't know why we weren't getting through or something.
Was the co-pilot Alfalfa?
Yeah, but all I knew is there were headlights coming across from the airport area. There's a little building, and I'm halfway to the thing, so I dropped down flat into the reeds because he's going to go wherever he's going. Yeah. Well, what the fuck? It's coming straight over. What the fuck? Now, Guy gets out of a car and he goes, hey. And I'm like, hey, I'm fucking freaked out, you know? And then he goes, it's me, Spanky. I don't know anybody named Spanky. Anyway, just picture it. Obviously, I got up and nothing happened, but I've never been so scared in my life at the edge of which way is this rock falling, you know? Do you ever have any moments like that where, you know?
Oh, it's funny because as you were telling this, I was like, okay. I have to admit that there has been a time or two in my life, not in like well over a decade, where I dabbled in other commodities.
Okay.
And I had been down on a trip far south, and I'm coming back through the airport, and what was going on was I was having suitcases that were manufactured in Cusco, and they drilled through it, and I could smell the ether.
Ooh.
I could smell the ether, and I mean, they just drilled through this, and it's like, I figure I'm not making it 10 more feet, but they don't do anything. So now I'm driving across country, convinced I'm being followed and doing all kinds of weird shit. I mean,
things go through your head. You don't, you know.
Dude, I was pretty
ether
good
was getting to you, man.
I had vehicles in at least one city in every state in between, at like shopping malls. I was not an easy person to follow. When they took me down in Green Merchant, right before they took me to what they call kite with a tail and a bird, I had a total of 5 police vehicles, one in front, one on the other side, one in back of me, another back of that, and a helicopter. They were watching me. They were serious.
Wow.
And I didn't find out about that till way later, obviously. But
yeah,
it was.
You were dumb.
I was doing shit like I drive up the freeway, and just periodically you pull over right there at the off ramp. And it's literally impossible for them to do anything. They have to keep going either way. And you sit there for a couple minutes, and then you go whichever way you're going to go.
Well, I got to go change my underwear wherever by then, I would think, and not that.
Well, I didn't know they were on me. That was just my gut said something's not right.
Well, yeah.
Always trust your gut.
That was, yeah. I mean, don't ever. I'd say don't ever discount it. I'd start with that. You know, I mean, if I feel like turning right and there's 3 ways to go somewhere and it's just not the way I ever go, if it even occurs to me, I go right. And I figure I just avoided some shit. Maybe I don't know.
The universe unfolds as it should. You were not to go down.
I had probably. I'll tell it pretty fast speed. The important thing then was don't tell anybody it's coming in. Wait till it's not going to be a federal thing. It's going to be a state of Florida thing then, So I'm good with that. But then what happens is guy has to like find somebody and it takes it. So it's sort of like this one involved me bringing it to a stash house, which was like on a lake in the middle of
Hey, why are you bringing things to my house?
Lake Okeechobee in the middle.
Yeah, he doesn't bring things to me either.
Nice.
But
I bring that over. Bring it over.
We're on our own. We're on our own, Johnny.
Most planned.
Oh.
Wow.
It's like a sea of green to me.
Except that it's all coming up out of one plant, and sea of green really is. By definition, sea of green has always been you're growing one big terminal flower, and you're not giving it. Pretty typically.
No, officer, I don't have 12 plants. I just have one.
Yep.
Yeah, I can't believe that's one plant.
But see, there's the plant count thing, and then there's the if what you're doing is a commercial operation with the intent of producing a lot of biomass that's worthwhile biomass in cannabis for more varieties than any other. It's not one size fits all. There is no such thing as one size fits all, but all have one size that fits best. And of all of them, the one that seems to fit the most of them, at least for me, best, has always been Sea of Green, because I'm out for yield per unit of time per area. If I'm doing a commercial thing, then I want to, at the end of the year, be able to say this many square feet gave me this much per square foot in this amount of time, because then it doesn't matter what kind of light I'm using. It doesn't matter what kind of method I'm using. I can compare these and go, here's what's happening here. Start with a real yield figure, and every other figure then has some validity. But until you have a way to compare, to directly compare, and I mean, and it gets obsessive. You know, you have a giant long room with 2 bedrooms inside the giant long room, and each of those has 3 different intakes. But depending on what the control says is going on with your humidity, your CO2, and your temperature, you're going from a room where the air is treated to be proper, that's twice the size of those 2 beds. Those 2, and I don't mean just bed. When I say bed, I mean bed test chamber, right? So now, in order to maintain the conditions, to directly contrast what light alone, without anything else going on, is doing, you have to have single variable. So you have to be going with clones that are as close to identical as possible. And that's when you start, you know, if you're going to be all sciencey about it, that's the way you go. But science is just one part of being that cannabiculturist that I would like us all to end up being, which is, you know, we're doing science. So we have to be scientists and shamans and artists and craftsmen. All of that comes into what we're doing.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I have heard that music makes a difference in the grow. And I heard specifically for weed that they prefer either classical or heavy metal. And they can produce up to a 20% higher yield with either of those 2 genres of music.
Okay. I have heard it all over the map as far as kinds. I'm inclined to think that a lot of the things that we attribute to external stuff are being driven by our internal powers, and we are in tune with what's going on. And because this is the ritual, this is the tools that we are prepared to accept that we can do this with, and that it will produce these effects. This is our wizardry, and the same set of rituals are not necessarily or the same set of talismans, that the tools we use in the spiritual part of what we're doing are less important than where our hearts are and our souls are with the plants. And see, then I'm off into the hippie woo-woo shaman part of it, but it's equally valid with, you know, your parts per million of CO2, with all of those other things, because it affects the hippie term, but literally on the money vibe of it.
Yeah.
It's all about frequency, right? The rate at which waves are propagated. How much energy goes into propagation of a wave determines the distance between the wave fronts. That's propagation, that's frequency. You're talking about frequency of wave propagation when you talk about frequency. So then,
wow,
when our frequency is affecting something, that thing it's affecting resonates to that frequency, right? It vibrates. It's also the vibration, that energy. We put huge amounts of energy in. Now it's much shorter.
So wouldn't the music?
I'm getting there. Higher frequency carries more information in the same amount of time and space. Higher frequency is part of what you have to have. If we've got the full range of what the American Society of Agricultural and Biological Engineers calls plant biologically active radiation, if we've got all of that there, it's like we've got all of the notes on our piano to work with. Now, if we want to make a lot of noise, it doesn't really matter which notes we're hitting. But if we want the period of resonance, the amount of time that that music hangs in the air from when the energy is released and starts moving something, which is what all waves are, energy provides impetus, and either mechanical, which is physical, or electromagnetic, you get the push on, right? Oh, God.
That's making sense to me.
Wolf, I have a question. Okay. At the end of our podcast, we do a list. For years, we did this list. It's a very sad list of all our friends and family that have passed away fighting for cannabis. Recently, we added a bell to the list, and it hits a lot differently now with that bell. Why is that? Can you explain what that bell is doing?
Yeah, it's like, to be clear, it's like at the World Trade Center events each year, they read off the names of the people that died and they ring a bell, you know. So we decided to incorporate that after years. And our list, 61, I think it is, hasn't had a name added. It just seems so long. But when we added the bell, it became much closer. After all that time, the bell between the names. So I understand. That's a good question, Lefty. I mean, because like the bell sending off a vibration, I guess. I mean, but if, you know, I mean, I'm hearing, is that something akin to what you're talking about?
Yeah. Music and this. Okay. I believe everything is vibration. I think that the only thing that gives any notion of separation is illusion. It's a veil of Maya, and all of the waves, all of the vibrations, all of the frequencies interact. When the peaks of waves, when the energy levels are highest and they arrive at the same time, the amount of work, their effect, whatever that effect is that is in the wave, is slower to dissipate because the space that they occupy is filled with the quanta of energy. Any given space can only hold X amount before then that energy is released. And I hope you understood how that relates to
that. I'm like getting it, and I could almost repeat it. That's how I know I'm getting it. And real quick, because I know Lefty's going to wrap this up.
Before he does, I'm sorry, I got an issue with work that I got to take care of. Wolf, it was great meeting you. I hope to get to talk to you again soon. Fascinating.
I'm always happy to talk. I wish more people would interrupt me because I tend to grab it up, and I'm not trying to.
But you know what?
Thank you.
Knowing that, I already knew that about it.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Yeah.
Good night, dog. It's okay.
I already knew that about you, but what we like is when we're absorbing it all, you don't really want to interfere. It's like a spinning top, and it's like it's doing it. It's work, and you know. But then sometimes it's just a natural. I know a couple of times it's like I caught you taking a breath, and I recognize that. And Lefty's probably like being polite about not saying, yeah, Jim's a lot like that. I am. See, he's laughing. Johnny held a straight face for that long. I appreciate that, Johnny. I do. But again, that's why I feel that, you know, we have a certain kind of overlap. I mean, we're within 3 years the same age, and you know, a lot of similar but not in the same area paths. So, but I learn a lot. You know, it's And oh yeah, by any chance, you probably didn't ever hear of a man named Jose Silva that had the Silva method of mind control way of living.
I have, yes.
Yeah, okay. A lot of it had to do with vibrations and stuff, but not in all in the way you're kind of talking, right, but also in the pattern to wavelength of the electrical energy, that we admit, the alpha level is 10 beats per second, right, and all that. But that
biochemically electric. It's chemoelectric. It's our neural paths. The neural paths are our neuroelectric sparks interact with the coronas. Anything electrical has a corona. The coronas interact. So, AKA auras, AKA whatever, So, yeah, I mean, it's all valid. Just like I'm getting ready to learn about Rife machines and see how that ties in there. And there's some musical stuff that's Tesla had it on the money. I'm just trying to figure out how to make it work for us.
So wouldn't the music thing more or less mimic like nature? Like playing the music like an hour before you turn the lights on would get the plants like thinking that they're like birds chirping. Wouldn't that be like more along the lines of that?
Very possibly. I'd love to.
I remember seeing something, a video about someone talking about that.
And there's a guy who's doing stuff with what he calls vibrationally modified organisms. Basically it's a plant shaker.
Right.
And it makes sense. For physical reasons, for I'm not prepared to say anything isn't valid until I find out then. And even then I may say it's not valid for me, but that doesn't mean it won't work for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's how life works. Nature.
Yeah, man.
Thank you for having me on here. It was
thank
fun.
you.
Let's do it again sometime.
And it shouldn't have to be like a really long time, because basically we could do the second half of this one down the road, because it's not like we've reached the end of something here. We're in the middle, and I would think we could do this a lot longer if it was like.
Oh, in talking about light, I will talk your ears off about light. Because in the quicker than Cliff's Note version, the current Nobel-winning concept of photosynthesis is deficient because it is incomplete. The proof of this being that it is not congruent with things that wave theory tells us about the behavior of waves. Wave theory describes every behavior of every kind of wave, and it allows us to use music and radio/radar as a Rosetta Stone in understanding some of the things we could be doing with light and are just now starting to get to.
Wow.
So,
well, I really appreciate you being here. At the end, Lefty reads off the names. You're welcome to stay and hear names.
I will honor them.
It's just see that it somehow keeps it going. Like if we don't do that, it feels like they're still with us in that respect.
Yeah, you don't want them to be forgotten. You want for those of you who knew them by name, you want to evoke the memories.
It's all about people that tried to drive this in the right direction and didn't get to see the light at the end of their tunnel, usually taken too soon in ways that come up in life, But it's sobering, and more so with the bell. So anyway, really appreciate you being here, Wolf. This was this is a winner. This is one. There's very few, but yet not actually that few, but this is right up there with ones that I would like to revisit, because Lefty will have this up for viewing consumption by those who might really be interested, And this is one of those ones that, I'd probably job around, like say, hey, check this out, I mean, for anybody that even might, because I think there'd be something here for everybody in that wandering thing. And then, you know, all the people that actually think they're not normal either would really love it. Yeah, they would thrive on feeling some of this, what we were doing tonight, you know.
Abby normals.
So anyway, thanks. Lefty, you there? Lefty.
Uh-oh.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh yeah, one more thing. Lefty would ask you, do you have a favorite munchie food? Because he asks everybody. So.
Yeah, what is your favorite munchie food this month?
I really like pistachios, but my teeth are gone, so I don't get to do them anymore.
Oh.
Ice cream, you know, I love ice cream. Oh, wait, no. Every morning, here it is. I fresh grind my coffee and I put in a package of dark chocolate, and then I put in this real cream pistachio creamer. And I know when I do that my day has been guaranteed to have one absolutely freaking wonderful thing happen.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it.
All right, man. All right.
Sounds good, Wolf. Thank you so much, man. You can stay for the list if you'd like. I want to thank Mad Hatter, wherever you are. CMMNJ, UFCW, Arlo Glass, OprahMachine.com, and SativaCross.org.
And at the end, just so, because sometimes people tune out before, after the list, Lefty reads a stanza from What Was Ode to Remembrance, written for fallen soldiers in World War I, and then kind of read during whatever day it was by Australia, France, England, and the United States. But we find it to be true for a lot of cannabis. I don't want to say warriors, because it's not a warrior thing, you know, but warriors will understand what the fuck I mean if I said it, you know. Yeah. And, you know, they fell with their faces to the foe, so to speak. All right. Take it away, Lefty. Time to bring me down.
This concludes our podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Jim, their first name is Cheryl, but why is Cheryl on this list? Can you expound on why Cheryl's on this list?
Well, yeah, it's fair that a lot of people don't know who she was. I would say she was the original standard bearer and gatekeeper for medical cannabis to become a reality in New Jersey after 2 years of doing what she could at the national level. And we did not meet another advocate in New Jersey until 1999. Federally started 1990. Then I pushed a wheelchair across the state, her wheelchair, medical marijuana for MS, and walked across the state from Seaside to Trenton to get the press to do something about this. They didn't want to hear about it. Nobody wanted to hear about it. I had nobody. I figured, fuck you. I'll make people ask. That's your job, goddammit. You're the media, you know? And so, yeah, it worked. But that meant that Cheryl, she could open any door just by being there in her wheelchair. It's like magic. Anyway, not meeting anybody, she hung in there. We're a gatekeeper. She passed on in June 2003. And we had medical marijuana law announced in 2004. And I guess I'd never beat the drum. You know, I didn't write the book. But the stories, you know, what I do now these days, I just say, look at this. Here's NBC footage from 1998. We got arrested because she ate some marijuana in a congressman's doorway, and she couldn't move anything but her head and a little bit of her, you know, just to become the reality. So anyway, yeah, she's at the top of the list because she was first, you know, and she operated selflessly. And when she was interviewed by David Pace of the Associated Press in Washington before getting arrested for lying down in Bob Barr's doorway, and you want to walk all over patients, you get arrested for that. And I read the next day what David Pace wrote, because I wouldn't be there when she was talking to somebody, so she wouldn't look at me to make sure what, she was just great by herself. Anyway, yeah, she said, he asked her, do you think you'll this will work out for you one day? And she went, oh no, it's too late for me. I'm trapped in my body and it's deteriorating and there's nothing I can do about it. But there are a lot of other Jim and Cheryls out there that have a lot more time. That's exactly what she said. It's burned up here. So that's why she's patient number one to be honored on the list. I can't be short, Lefty. You know that. Don't do this to me. Don't do it to Wolf either. He wouldn't be any quicker.
No.
Anyway.
The Jim Miller Minute.
So our list begins with Cheryl, Sabina, Diane, Casey, Cindy Mae, Marie, Jack, Joan, Randy, Holly, Bill, Chad, Jeremy, Colette, Matt, Troy, Russ, Roger, Jay, Ella, Jackie, Anthony, Jake, Armando, Felicia, Lynn, Dan, Sean, Joyce, Lori, Frank, Brian, Flo, Carl, Thorne, Frank, Lorraine, Teddy, Charlotte, Cher, Jaybird, Michael, Marley, Colette, Brendan, Red, Rico, Lou, Becky, Yolanda, Chip, Paul, Lisa, Marcus, Gary, Julia, Wayne, Waxy, Joe Marie, Jeff.
Wow.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this, Lefty. And Wolf, thanks for being part of it. And Johnny, he's the glue here.
Yes, thank you, Johnny. Thank you, Wolf. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Liz, wherever you are. And we'll see you all on Sunday for Cannabis Church. There's Wayne Barini. Hold on. Hold that up, Johnny. There goes Wayne.
He's the one who Lefty has, although not access to it at the moment in his current studio, that his voice would always go, that concludes our podcast. Nobody can nail it.
He did it like this. This concludes our podcast.
Yeah, see, that's
this concludes our podcast.
Yeah, anyway.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. All right.
They shall grow not old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. See ya.